everybody. Welcome to MORE-VILLE, Orville, the podcast that reviews every single episode of your favorite show, The Orville. I'm Michael, and I'm joined by G.I. Jolie.
Hello, I am your first mate. Happy... Oh, wait, never mind.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say it's not Valentine's Day today.
No, not anymore. And Champ Ian.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What would your position be on the crew?
My position on the crew, something deep in the bowels of the ship.
Chief engineer?
Where I don't have to be hassled.
There you go.
I'll sweep up after. I'll sweep up the place, after everyone else has gone to bed. I'm a night person.
Custodian?
Sure, I'm happy with that.
All right.
So you're the night mess hall bartender.
Oh, you know what? That's probably exactly what I'd end up doing.
Actually.
So go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just gonna go with this one, but it's like, no, you start out as the quote environmental services guy, and then everyone finds out at like a party or whatever that you mix a really good Chilean cocktail, and here we are.
That works. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, your turn now, Michael.
No, I was just gonna say I'm just looking at trivia here. I should have pointed out that the season premiere of the Orville season 2, it was the #1 show on the network for that week. Now, which network was this again? I don't even remember. Doesn't matter. Networks don't exist anymore, right? This is all streaming now, including the Orville. But yeah. So anyway, ratings hit. Everything's good. I don't remember what network it was on, but that's okay.
It was a UPN, wasn't it?
Oh, could be. Yeah, could be.
It's Fox.
Yeah. Fox Network. So anyway,
whatever your local affiliate is.
Yeah. It was, can you tell us what happened in this episode, Primal Urges?
Well, I'll give it a try. Hopefully it'll be a little bit easier time since we don't have 7 plots running concurrently in this one. But this one starts off with the Orville studying a planet that's about to be consumed by a star.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're examining this planet, Bortus, out of the blue, asks if he can be excused. He's got something to do. And we follow Bortus to the holodeck, where he engages in some pornographic program.
Ooh.
And it turns out that this becomes an ongoing thing.
Right.
Bortus keeps leaving work early. He keeps going to the holodeck to experience virtual reality Mocklin porn before going back home to Clyden, who wishes to perform the sexual event. However, Bortus is tired and they want to go to sleep. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Until Clyden is fed up to the point where he stabs Bortus through the heart in an attempt to kill him. Which it turns out is the way that the Mocklins divorce one another. Now, thanks to Dr. Finn's ministrations, Bortus is revived. He does not want to press charges. In fact, he expresses that he should not have been revived because this is, the way the Mocklin culture is. Instead of arresting Clyden, instead he just says, "No, you're just going to leave the ship." Bortus disagrees. They get marriage counseling. Dr. Finn is their marriage counselor. And it turns out that Bortus is upset because Clyden didn't stick up for him earlier in the show when their child was going through that gender assignment issue. So, Bortus is upset. And they have this porn issue. It seems as though it's resolved. Bortus expresses that he's going to try harder, and for a moment, it looks to us as though he's going to try. He leaves work early yet again, and telling the captain that he's going to meet Clyden for this. But he goes back to the holodeck for more porn. But I guess this porn isn't quite enough for him anymore. So he goes he goes down to the bowels of the ship where he finds the environmental services alien. And it turns out that this alien is from a race of people that is great at producing porn. Mm-hmm. So he orders something special, and this alien delivers and gives him a flash drive with something on it, something special just for him. He plugs it into the computer, and it's some Moclan orgy porn. He has a great time, but unbeknownst to him, there's a computer virus on this flash drive that infects the Orville. It's first noticed when Malloy and Lamar go to grab a pizza, and it comes out looking like a chocolate milkshake. It's not exactly what they're looking for. And we also learn right around this time that there are people that live on this planet that are breaking up. And the Orville tries to rescue them. It takes some doing since they're so close to the sun. They have to outfit this shuttle with all these extra shields. Turns out that Bortus and Isaac are the only two that can stand the radiation so close to the sun. So they fly down to rescue these people. But the planet, its breakup is accelerating. They can only take so many of them. So half the people on the planet are left to die. As they're coming back, the computer virus, it is worked its way into the ship's navigation system. So the Orville is plunging into the sun until Isaac saves the day. And everyone lives happily ever after.
Right. This episode was intended for season 1, but it was bumped to season 2 for reasons that have not been disclosed, possibly because once the second season was announced, maybe they just figured, oh, we can just save this one, right? We don't have to use it now. Now, unfortunately, it was meant to be the season premiere, but then it got bumped again to the second episode. But its ratings were low with viewers, and its rating on IMDb is the lowest by far of the entire series. So audiences didn't really watch it as much, and audiences didn't like it as much. The only thing... by the way, they also had to reshoot at least 2 scenes. The scenes with their son had to be reshot with an actor who was aged appropriately, right? And then also scenes in the bar had to be reshot with the new tables that they were using. Otherwise, the rest of the episode was the same. I'll just say that as I was watching this episode, I did enjoy it, but I found that the lying and the porn started to get really tedious. Because it was like the same thing like 5 times, right? And it didn't really get any different. It was kind of just the same, not gag, but the same thing, just repeated. And so I think that got tedious. There wasn't really much of a tie-in between the people in danger on the planet and the porn subplot, other than when they tied together with the computer virus. So at least it was a little bit weird for me, because after we just had an episode with like 7 plots, which I liked, now we have an episode with 2 plots that don't really connect, but they kind of connected at the end, so it was better. But overall, yeah, I'm not sure about this episode. I did like it, but I can kind of see why, for the most part, audiences didn't click with this one. So what do you guys think?
Julie, you can go first.
I thought it was really, I remember watching it on television. I remember thinking it was really funny, but I always think that Bortus is really funny. And then rewatching this, like you said, I didn't know what it was about the simulator scenes that I had a problem with. And it's because it is tedious. Also, it relies really heavily on like human pornographic tropes. Which, for the humor in them, like doctor's office porn, or like tied up in a dungeon,
right.
prison guard.
Yeah,
right.
I agree with you completely there. Like it was humorous the first time around, not so much the second time around. Like I'm chuckling at it, but they missed a big opportunity there, I think, to explore Moclan's sexuality a little bit, while still keeping it light, because this is you can joke around about a porn addiction a little bit, but if maybe have a Moclan on the holodeck and they're just punching each other in the face, and we don't know that it's sexual
Good
until
point.
we're told about it. And there's other stuff like just give us some scenarios that feel alien.
When it's not happening, that's a great point to bring up, because there's such a for lack of a better term, like a masculine macho species, that it seems as though maybe they would. Maybe the sexual event is them just railing on each other with their fists, like in a fighting way, in a way that humans would interpret as a fist fight. If divorce is actual murder, then what is the sexual event to a Moclan?
Mm-hmm.
If an annual event is urinating off of a cliff, then like it stands to reason that the sexual event could be something different. And I think another reason why I didn't really, aside from it being tedious, aside from it being like human porn tropes, is that I didn't immediately catch on that that's what was happening, is that it was porn and he was addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
He had like a porn addiction that we were going to be nursing for the rest of this episode. I just assumed that like he was unhappy with Clyden and he was seeking, it's part of it. He was seeking comfort and the sexual event with other male Moclans. Imaginary male Moclans, mind you, but just adding another dimension of it being like a porn addiction and it being humanoid, earth porn for that matter. It just like kind of made it a little confusing for me.
The other thing is that, when you're going to have this repeated gag, you should kind of one-up it or change it each time. So it's like the first time Bortus gets off work 15 minutes early, then he goes to the holodeck, then he comes home late and lies. Every single time he does it, it's exactly the same thing. Like Ian said, rinse and repeat. What it should have been is a different type of lie, a different reason. That's one thing, right? And then once he gets into the holodeck or whatever it's called, instead of it being, again, like escalate a little bit, so it should have been a little bit funnier each time, right? So that you're kind of like one-upping your own gag. But so it's almost like at every turn, maybe it was just like a weakly written plot. I think that was the problem. And sure, there was some good gags on top of that, but I think the underlying premise is weak, and that's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Missed opportunities all around in this episode. There was some getting away from the porn addiction part too. There was some missed opportunities in the rescue of this planet aspect of things too. I was a little disappointed at how little consternation there was when it was revealed that they could only take less than half of the remaining planet survivors. Mm-hmm. Nobody really seemed to care. Right. Among the Orville crew, they didn't try to find any way to maybe get them all off. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, they just drew straws. Yes. And whoever picked the long straw got to go. There's all sorts of opportunity there for some sort of moral exploration in terms of, in a situation like that when you can only save half of a group of people. Mm-hmm. What's the right way to do it? Right. You could have had say Mercer and Kelly arguing like on the spot, like we should pick all the young ones. No, we should pick all the healthy ones. No, we should pick, and then Isaac could be like, we should pick the smartest ones. Instead, we get a little one line where Isaac's like, well, I would have picked the most intelligent ones. And then Bortus says something like, well, I'm glad that I'm not you, or something like that. But you're right. It should have been a huge moral dilemma. You're you're allowing 30 people or whatever to die. So yeah, we could have an entire episode about that alone, right? You're right. Like, personally, I think that in a situation like that, you bring the people that have the most knowledge of your culture, because that's the most important thing there. You don't need the smartest people, because you're going to somewhere where there's far more smart people than you. Right. But if you're looking to save your civilization, save what makes your civilization distinct. Well, see, look right there. We could have had an episode where the most obvious one is, okay, young. Okay, no, how about
families. Okay, no, the smartest. And then maybe that fourth person comes up with that idea. No, let's pick the ones that will preserve the culture. And that ends up being the solution, which I wouldn't have thought of that, right? But that's something that the writers should never, like the viewer should never be able to think of something the writers can't think of, right?
It's a good point.
So, yeah.
Especially not something so obvious. I mean, that's the entire, B plot of this is getting those people off.
Right.
They didn't seem to put much thought into it.
No. Now, maybe the explanation for why this episode was a little patchy is because it actually is from season 1. And maybe it was one of those runoff ones from later in the season, right? Like we kind of said that maybe they front-loaded the season a little bit. Maybe this is one of the middle to later ones. Maybe that's why it was a little bit weak. But guess what? I still enjoyed it because I got my gag reel and there's some good jokes in this one. And I think they're all from Lieutenant Dan. There's one joke where Lieutenant Dan, what's his name? Malloy is piloting a ship in the foreground. And I don't remember which part of the A plot it is, but they've just basically found out that it's either like when they just find out the people are all going to die, or the star's going to be destroyed, or something, or the planet's going to be destroyed. And then way in the background, you see Lieutenant Dan. He's like, I just found out me and the captain share the same birthday. And Malloy is just like, doesn't even acknowledge him. But it's just, Lieutenant Dan is just that guy, right? He's always saying the wrong thing. And then later on, when they're in, what happens is they go to the holodeck because they're trying to, deprogram the computer virus. And while they're in there, all of Bortus's simulated fictional men are hitting on Isaac and Lamar, and like licking their ears and stuff like that. And Lamar is like trying to like shoo them away while he like tries to save the ship from complete destruction because it's being pulled into the star. And then after he kind of like leaves the holodeck or whatever, Lieutenant Dan kind of looks over and is like, "Hi, I'm Dan."
Such a clueless officer.
I love it. I think it also just shows that it's not necessarily. It just shows that he's so desperate for attention, right? He just doesn't even care.
Doesn't even care if it comes from simulated Moculans.
Right.
Half naked / all naked Moculans.
Right.
It's not like not my favorite. It's not the best joke, but it's a reason why I love the Orville, and it's when they first make contact with the first minister of the planet. And he calls her back, and he refers to her as Minister Thies. And Kelly goes, Thies.
Oh, yes.
And I goes, what? And she said, it's Thies. Her name is Thies. It's pronounced Thies. And
what did I say?
Yeah.
Right? You said Thies.
It's Thies, like peace.
Yeah, and Malloy, it cuts to a wider shot. Malloy goes, yeah, like peace.
Yeah.
And then they just have it. He's like, okay, cool. But like, let me remind, that's great. I got it. But their planet is still burning up.
Right.
And we only have 24 hours to save them. So maybe a conversation on how to pronounce her name isn't the best one to have right now.
Hilarious.
Oh, the Orville.
So yeah, that's the thing is that I think at this point I'm watching the show, and yes, there's weak episodes, but I've seen every episode of TNG some 5 or 6 times, and there are some episodes that are rough, right? Like even in the best of seasons, seasons 3 and 4, there's 1 or 2 episodes where they're just like so dull, but that's the thing about the Orville. I don't think it's ever dull. It's sometimes bad, but it's never, not even bad. It's weak, but it's never dull. I don't think.
And it's never embarrassing. There have been some episodes of TNG that were embarrassing,
especially in the first 2 seasons and the 7th season. Yeah,
I'm imagining like Worf soaking in a hot tub full of mud with Lwaxana Troy.
Oh, jeez, yeah,
just like
yeah,
really.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
there are episodes of TNG that I've seen 50 times. That episode, I only watched it once.
Right.
Never go back.
Even the original show, which is still my favorite, There are some episodes in season 3 that are so bad. Like remember Cat's Paw? The one with the giant black cat. It's a Halloween themed episode.
Oh yes, the witches that try and take over or something.
I think so. I think it's certainly entertaining, but it's not a good episode. It's not well written. Everyone makes fun of Spock's brain. Remember that one?
Brain and brain. What is brain?
Yeah! yes.
I actually enjoy that episode.
Oh yeah,
I enjoy that episode.
On a campy level, I love that episode. Don't get me wrong, but you know what? I'm gonna back up what I said. Original series Star Trek, never dull. Never dull. Sometimes horrible, but never dull. TNG sometimes is just dull. And DS9, I've just watched seasons 1 and 2 of DS9. There's a lot of dull episodes of DS9. I've heard it gets a lot better though, so I'm in for the long haul.
Oh yeah, and speaking of, apparently, by the time this airs, Discovery. I mean, I think Discovery's on now, but apparently the newest
it will be
season,
canceled.
No, we wish, right? No, apparently, and I've seen clips. It's brighter. They introduce a character exactly like Lieutenant Dan. They introduce a security officer who is a woman who bears a strange, bumpy resemblance to Alara Katan. And yeah, I mean, the atmosphere is just brighter. They crack jokes in dialogue.
Sorry, which season is this now, Discovery? 3 or 4?
4, I believe.
4? I think it was season 2 or 3. I never saw it, but the trailer included a scene of them all stuck in an elevator together, and one of the characters sneezed on the other. And I'm like, oh, that's the Orville. It's the Orville. Okay. Which is fascinating because, Star Trek is now being influenced by its imitators, but probably better.
Wild.
All I gotta say is good.
Yeah.
If I can see the color of the bed sheets in their their own quarters, then you're doing something right. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be a bleak, dark nightmare.
Right,
it should
exactly.
be a wonderful, exploratory, warm place because you're in space.
Mm-hmm.
You're floating in space.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
Well, anyway, what were we going to say, Ian?
I was just going to say 2 years from now, the shows are going to merge, and it's going to turn out they exist in the same universe.
Oh.
The Orville and the
I actually
and the
thought
Discovery
about that.
are going to fly side by side.
No, I thought about that. It's like, you know what? With this current trend of multiverses and all that, they could so easily just purchase the rights to the Orville and just make it Star Trek the Orville. They could. Not to say I'd want them to, but they could. Anyway, I'm not as big a fan of shared universes as everyone else, so I don't know. I feel like if it was purchased by Paramount or whoever, that it would just become homogenized and diluted. But anyway, I was gonna say we didn't point out last week or last episode that the Orville has a new opening sequence. Did you guys notice that?
I didn't notice that.
It's quite breathtaking. The special effects. Wow. I'm not even a fan of CGI, but the special effects for the space, like the space stuff, it just looks great, Like, obviously, I know that space is mostly empty, and so, when you see an asteroid field, an actual asteroid field, the asteroids are millions of kilometers away from each other, so it's not like they're all grouped together like that, and like, these gas clouds and... you probably have to be really far away for them to even look like a gas cloud, just like a cloud, right? But anyway, who cares, right? It's part fantasy. So anyway, I think the opening sequence looks great. I'm a big fan of it.
Well, that does remind me of one of the things that I enjoyed about this episode, actually. The special effects, I think, were top-notch, particularly when they were conducting the rescue on that planet. I thought that the effects were spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Go ahead, Julie.
The star.
Yes.
Engulfing the planet.
Yep. And like the Orville flying in front of the star, sort of silhouetted, but you could still see the lights of the Orville on. Mm-hmm. Those shots looked incredible. Like, just great.
And right towards the end when you're seeing like bits of the Orville's hull sort of being ripped apart.
Yes. Yep. And again, I'm sure there's some CGI in there, but I know that Seth MacFarlane made a point to say that they are using models.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was very adamant about that, and I think it pays off. I'm a huge fan of models. I'm a huge fan of puppets like Baby Yoda, and I agree with, I think it was Werner Herzog, one of the actors in Mandalorian Season 1. What had happened was they created the Baby Yoda puppet, and then they were like, well, maybe we should just make him CGI. And Werner Herzog said, no, keep him a puppet. Don't be a coward. And I totally am with him, because if Baby Yoda was a CGI character, I'll tell you right now, nobody would give a shit about him. It's because he's real, and you can see the expression on his face, and you can reach out and touch him, and he looks like a real baby. That's why people love Baby Yoda.
You can see his little robe kicking in the dirt while he's walking.
Yep. Anyway, that's for another podcast.
It's interesting, though. It's interesting how much more emotional attachment and engagement you'll get from an obvious puppet versus even really good CGI.
I know. And again, this is not just me saying I like puppets better. I think it's kind of like indisputable that people are more attached to puppets. You're right. Even if they look fake, even though CGI, we agree, would be more fluid motion, right? More realistic, inner skeletal structure, blah, blah, blah. For some reason, that puppet, it's almost like a stuffed animal. It just, you're able to attach yourself more to it. And also, my theory for horror films is, I don't think that human beings can be scared by CGI, and that's why I don't think CGI works in horror films. Like there was a Stephen King film, I don't remember what it was called, but it was with John Cusack where he's in a hotel. I don't know if you guys saw that one, but anyway, it was a fairly good movie. There's a scene though where all of a sudden there's these ghosts in the room, and there's so obvious CGI that you're just like, oh, okay, well, I admire the quality of the CGI, but I don't feel anything. Whereas when you see the old, more primitive optical effects or even hand-drawn animation that might have been used in something like a Poltergeist, it always looks more frightening to me. But,
agreed.
Yeah. But anyway, yes, so this show reviews every single episode of The Orville in chronological order, and you can hear it in the same place that you discovered it here, but if you get to pick, then pick www.comicbooksyndicate.com for all of the episodes of MORE-VILLE Orville, as well as all of our episodes of Here Comes the Spider-Cast, a full volume podcast, Flea Market Fantasy, as well as Comic Book Syndicate episodes reviewing comic books and interviewing creators. So there you go. I want to thank G.I. Joe Lee and Champ Ian for joining me again.
Thank you.
Yes, it's always fun.
You both.
All right. And until next week, there's more where that came from.